Hello, my name is Corey Wise, Director of Goalline Ministries here on the campus of Thomas University. I've walked into the Chappelle building on the Magnolia campus, and my first thought is, oh, if these walls could talk. The history that has been here, the lessons learned. This podcast is called Flight Lessons, a Nighthawk podcast. And our aim is to hear stories from our Nighthawk Nation, from students, faculty, staff, who have stories to tell about how they're overcoming difficulties, how they're discovering their why, and how they're soaring higher through their faith and a sense of community. So I thought it would be good if we could embark on this journey together, allowing their stories to hopefully impact our story so that together we might be stronger. So sit back and enjoy this episode and the ones to come of Flight Lessons, a Nighthawk podcast.
All my demons better back up. KJV on me, that means I'm strapped up. Lucy came at me, he better bring some back up. I fought him on my knees, on my hands up. The Holy Ghost to me will give any demons goosebumps. Ain't no love for you around here, better go.
Hello, glad to have you back for Flight Lessons, a Nighthawk podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Tom Fleenor, head baseball coach for Thomas University. Coach Tom, it's good to have you with us.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. So help catch us up. How did you come to love baseball?
Oh, wow. Loaded question.
Sure.
I don't know. It was just something natural when I was young and wanted to play. And it was many years when my parents kept missing the sign-up deadline. So I didn't start playing until I was probably 9. So I skipped over all the, T-ball, coach pitch, and all that kind of stuff. So went right into kid pitch and just fell in love with it. And I remember some of my greatest days were Mom just dropping me off at the ballpark at 8 or 9 in the morning. I didn't play till 1 or 2 o'clock, and she'd come back and pick me up later. And it was I don't know. I fell in love with it, and it's never wavered.
So it was a sport you loved and a babysitting service all in one.
That's right. That's right. Simpler times back then where you could just drop your kid off with random folks.
Yeah, and we'll come back at some point and pick them up.
At least Mom got her errands run. So
that latchkey kid type situation.
Yes,
right?
100%.
We both have been there a little bit.
Yeah.
So you got into baseball. You fell in love with baseball, but maybe how did you get into coaching?
Well, it wasn't until late in my college career when I went to college. I was going to be a communications major. I was going to do sports broadcasting, and then I realized that my face probably wasn't cut out for that. I was thinking about modeling socks on the radio. That was the next step.
Wow,
but anyways, that turned into athletic training. I got into athletic training, and I did that for about 1.5 years. And it was the end of my junior year in college where it seemed like everything was getting me closer and closer to the field. And I finally just kind of woke up one day and said, I'm going to coach. And looked at what I had done academically. And I said, what can I do to graduate the fastest at the end of the following year? And it was, get a PE degree. So I got a PE degree, no certification to teach or anything. So I literally went all in on college coaching because I couldn't teach or do anything like that.
It was about to be feast or famine.
That's correct. So I kind of bet on myself, and I guess it worked.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many schools did you coach at before coming to TU?
Oh, goodness. Started at Cleveland State Community College in Cleveland, Tennessee. Parlayed that into a wonderful opportunity at Ole Miss. I was there for 4 years. And then Rollins College back in Winter Park, Florida, which is where I finished high school, right near Winter Park. And then I got my first paid job. I actually worked for free for 7 years.
Wow, I bet they appreciated that.
Yeah, I was doing all sorts of odd jobs. I delivered pizzas for Papa John's. I worked at a drug wholesale factory. I worked at JCPenney. I worked at Kmart, several Christmas tree lots, and doing everything I could to make money. And I finally got my first paid job at USC Upstate, which even back then it was USC Spartanburg in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And then from there I got a chance to be a head coach for the first time, started a junior college program in Sumter, South Carolina called USC Sumter. So that was my first parlay into the head coaching world. And then from there, Lenore University for another 6 years. And then that brought me to Thomasville.
Okay. And how long have you been at TU?
This is my 7th year, so 33rd year overall in coaching.
So you really kind of found your sweet spot, your purpose. And whenever you knew what it was that you wanted to do, you went all out, you went all in, you said. So you went after it with everything you had.
That's correct.
You know, I'm sure there were a lot of things you had to overcome, a lot of difficulties along the way, et cetera. Talk to me about how you got through some of the difficulties, how you overcame them and found success on the other end.
Well, most of the difficulties were financial. They don't tell you that you're not going to make much money in college coaching unless you're lucky enough to get onto a big time school, and that carries a whole different realm of problems. But most of the issues were financial, to be quite honest, and there were oftentimes I felt like quitting. It wasn't because I fell out of love with baseball or the coaching profession. It was just like, how am I going to pay my bills? And lucky for me, at the time I was married, and she had a stable job, and and I was doing everything I could to make ends meet on at least do my part, which it wasn't much. But yeah, the biggest problems were financial, and I just always knew that God wasn't going to put this on me and give me this gift if I wasn't going to be able to use it. And I often, drew on that to tell me to keep going, and I did. And I could have made a lot more money doing other things in life, but a wise person once told me, find what you love to do, and you'll never work a day in your life. And I took that to heart, and that's literally sums up my whole career. So
baseball and the days of coaching, it never feels like it's work.
Yes, it does, but sometimes I literally have to stop myself and go, I'm getting paid for this. So yeah. It's awesome. I love it. Even I would rather have a bad day at the baseball field than a great day at the insurance office.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm very blessed in that aspect.
Yes. When you're working out of your sweet spot, whenever you're operating in your purpose, whenever it's a calling, kind of what you're talking about
right.
here, then it frees us to really to be able to do everything we do as unto the Lord, and to recognize it is a blessing anytime we get to do what He calls us to do, and know that He meets us not only with the mercies that are new each and every day, but His grace.
Absolutely.
So. Absolutely.
And, I thought my quote unquote purpose was to win a lot of baseball games, and that focus changed at some point, and still you're never going to find another coach that wants to win as much as I do, but I put things into perspective much better now. I tell these kids all the time, you probably couldn't have played for me 10, 12 years ago, because my priorities were not exactly in line with what they should have been. So it's been a much happier existence since I've been able to prioritize and realize that this is about relationships. And this is about helping kids on their path, whatever that path may be, and it's in the end, it's just a much happier existence that my existence itself is not wrapped up in a one-loss record. Yeah, so that's been refreshing.
I've got a pastor friend who his son played baseball going through college and even some semi-pro. And one of the things that he tried to get him to pick up early, in which he did, was that I am not baseball. That doesn't define me. The win-loss record, my stats, that doesn't define me. Who I am, I'm a Christian who plays baseball. And so knowing who we are, really whose we are, is extremely important for being able to walk out our calling, our purpose, and to not get caught up into things that, when it comes down to eternal matters, it really doesn't matter as much.
That's correct, and I absolutely let baseball define me for a long, long time. And quite honestly, it wasn't until I came here to Thomas University, got involved heavily in Goalline Ministries, obviously meeting John Rainey, and John he's a man that when you're around him, you just want to be better.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to disappoint John Rainey. And that was a big shift for me. And everything for me has changed since I came to Thomas University and got involved with Goalline. It's completely changed. Again, much happier existence. I find joy in so many other things than just baseball. I come home and it's not whatever just happened at the baseball field was going to determine how it goes at the house. I leave it at the field now, come home, enjoy my wife and my dogs, and just live life. It's great. It's wonderful.
Yeah. It's amazing, you know, sometimes it's what we think the dream is going to look like. It really doesn't look like, but we find a greater fulfillment, greater satisfaction, and even more joy because we're really living that more abundant life as we live unto the Lord. And we find that the small things in life are quite fulfilling. Yes. And so that's good. That's good. So, you know, when you have these guys, sometimes you have them for a semester, sometimes you have them for 5 years, 6 years, or whatever, if they're playing through their masters and have extended playing season opportunity. But what do you really try to instill in them along the way? Or what's that one message that you always would say, this is what I want to get across, if nothing else?
Well, I try to reach them where they are. Okay, so the biggest hurdle for me in my Christian walk was I just didn't feel like I was worthy of His love. Okay, and I try to impress upon my players that no matter what you've done in life, His grace is always going to be bigger. And I think a lot of them struggle with that. They feel like they can't follow God because they've done all these other things in their life, which they don't realize, hey, you're perfect. You're the perfect candidate for this walk with Jesus Christ. You are. So I try to reach them when, you know, I would have loved to have been reached at that point in my life, but, you know, it happened much later. So, and we've had some wonderful experiences. We have so many baptisms. We've had, 7, I think, last year. It was outstanding. I got baptized a couple of years ago, and that for me has been the ultimate goal, as many kids as we can get baptized and get them on their walk. That truly, to me, is the biggest win of all, and that's, so what I'm trying to do is to try to get them over themselves and understand that this is why you do. This is why you follow Jesus, so you can be forgiven for everything you've done. And it doesn't mean you're going to live a perfect life thereafter. So, that's at this point, that is one of my greatest priorities and what we try to lead the kids to. And it's going pretty well. It's going. I'm happy, not satisfied, and we're going to continue to do the same thing and hopefully try to get better at it because we'll reach more.
Yeah. Well, I know that through Goalline Ministries and the small groups that we offer, baseball attendance is the highest of any of our small groups. I mean, we're averaging about 40 to 45 guys weekly. So they're locking in to not only the message that you're conveying, but they're locking into the opportunity to explore their faith or to grow up in their faith and become the men that maybe God's calling them to be, so that they might accomplish the things that He's placed in their hearts and walk out their purpose. Absolutely, absolutely. And in any way I can facilitate that, I'm very proud to do that. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tom. Anything else that you might share with us today that might inspire somebody that maybe is looking at TU and the opportunity of coming here or maybe engaging in TU's activities at a different level? Well, I think one of the things that makes TU athletics special are the coaches that we have in place. And you hear a lot of recruiters talking about, come here, we're a family, and this is about development. But they talk more about skill development, and I'm not so sure how much of a family it actually is. But living within this family of the TU athletic coaches and programs, it truly is a family, and we're not just developing skills on the field. We're developing life skills, and I think that's what makes TU athletics very unique, and the fact that we have Goalline Ministries attached to everything TU athletics makes it even more unique. And I love selling that when kids and parents are on their recruiting visits. It's one of the greatest things we have to sell. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. The Adopt a Student program, small groups, connecting people with churches, leadership team, all kind of development opportunities for those who come here.
It's always so neat when you first tell the parents about the Adopt a Student program, the look on their face, they're always like,
"What?
wow, that's pretty neat." Like, yeah.
You do convey, though, that we do not pay for all their insurance and groceries see, we don't cover all that with the adoption. It's not really a full adoption,
It's all part of the recruiting spiel. Don't worry about it.
Well, Coach Flea, thank you so much for being with us
Absolutely.
today.
My pleasure.
Good to hear your journey, the processes that you've gone through, but really exciting to hear how God's using you at TU and beyond to help transform lives.
Absolutely.